In the absence of the council president, at this time I'd like to ask for nominations for an acting council president.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Garrett, you will be acting council president this evening.
Good evening. Roll call.
Councilman Samaluka?
Here.
Councilman Garrett?
Yep, here.
Councilman Accomando?
Here.
Both Councilwoman Mazer and Council President Dorminio are unable to attend this evening.
Please rise for the flag salute. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been sent to all council members and to all legal newspapers in accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, and in consideration of Executive Order Number 103, issued by Governor Murphy on March 9, 2020, declaring a state of emergency and a public health emergency in the state of New Jersey.
The public is hereby advised that any statements made during the meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Southbrook may not be privileged or protected, and that persons or entities who take issue with such comments or are offended by same may and have in the past sought legal redress through the courts. Any member of the public who addresses the council speaks for themselves, not for the council.
Before we open the meeting to the public, Mayor, presentation.
Thank you, Acting Council President Garrett. I have a few presentations tonight. To start out, I'd like to call up the Assistant Fire Chief, Jason Sabani, and whoever he wants to hold the Bible. He's going to be sworn in tonight. Due to COVID, we weren't able to have the annual installation dinner. We swore in the chief, who's here, Chief Palazzati, in January. Unfortunately, the assistant chief wasn't available that night, so we're going to do it right now. So, the Bible, and who wants to hold the Bible? And Raphael, you want them to face this way? Maybe face this way, right? Okay. So yeah, you're going to put your right hand up, your left hand on the Bible, right hand up. And repeat after me. I, Jason Sabani,
I, Jason Savani,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey,
of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear
and that I will bear
true faith and allegiance
true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same,
and to the government established
to the government established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state,
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and will perform my duties
and will perform my duties
as Assistant Fire Chief
as Assistant Fire Chief
of the Saddlebrook Volunteer Fire Department,
of the Southern Volunteer Fire Department,
faithfully,
faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly,
and justly,
to the best of my ability.
that's my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Chief. I also have flowers for Kelly,
Thank you.
Jason's wife.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you for putting up with all the long hours away from your husband, and he does a fantastic job, as does the whole fire department.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, next, I have a proclamation in celebration of Women in History Month. This year, again, because of COVID, we decided not to actually acknowledge any individual women from town, but instead, collectively, all the women in town who have been amazing and resilient and strong through this COVID-19 pandemic. So whereas each year Women's History Month offers an important opportunity for us to highlight women who have made vital contributions and have helped to improve our community. In recognition of Women in History Month this year, I want to acknowledge and thank all the women in our community who have gone above and beyond during the COVID-19. And whereas in our current moment of crisis, women continue to lead and demonstrate strength, courage, and hope. From vaccine researchers to public health officials to countless frontline heroines, women across the country are working tirelessly to help defeat COVID-19. Women make up the majority of our essential workers, including educators, nurses, child care providers, grocery store workers, and stay-at-home parents navigating their way through virtual learning. I salute the women of Saddlebrook, determined to keep their families and our community safe through these unprecedented times. Whereas during Women's History Month, let us honor the accomplished and visionary women who have helped build our country, and let us pay tribute to the trailblazers from the recent and distant past for daring to envision a future for which no past precedent existed, and for building a nation of endless possibilities for all of its women and girls. Now, therefore, be it on this 5th day of March 2021, I, Robert D. White, the Mayor of the Township of Saddlebrook, do hereby proclaim March 2021 as Women's History Month. I call upon all Saddlebrook residents to observe this month and to celebrate International Women's Day on March the 8th, 2021, with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. I also invite them to visit the website www.womenshistorymonth.gov to learn more about the vital contributions of women to our nation's history. Thank you. Lastly, they came in a little late, but better late than never. I have proclamations from the County Executive Jim Tedesco III, and also our Bergen County Sheriff Anthony Curran, for all three candidates who, council candidates who won in the November election 2020. So I'm just going to show them. This is from Bergen County Sheriff Curran, Office of Bergen County Sheriff, Certificate of Commendation dishonoring Andrew Simaluka in recognition of your election as councilperson to the Township of Saddlebrook, presented this day, January 7, 2021. Signed, Anthony Curran, Sheriff. So all three of our council people received this. Not only Mr. Simaluka, but Mr. Garrick and Mrs. Manger. And here's the other one. This is from, again, County Executive Jim Tedesco. County of Bergen Certificate of Commendation honoring this one, Councilman David Garrick, in honor and recognition of your successful election to serve your community and an appreciation of your willingness to represent your constituents. January 1st, 2021, James Tedesco III. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. May I have a motion to open the meeting to the public?
Motion.
Roll call.
Councilman Simaluka?
Yes.
Councilman Garrett?
Yes.
Councilman Arcomando?
Yes.
Does anyone wish to address the council?
All right, good evening, everyone. Thomas Van Winkle, 128 Lincoln Avenue, Saddlebrook. Just want to come up and speak about the Mayor's Youth Group as I do routinely every month. We just met last Saturday on February the 27th via Zoom, and we discussed our Easter activities as well as Earth Day activities. So I'll start with Easter. We are going to be participating in the Easter Bunny Drive-By event, which has been scheduled for Saturday, March 27th from 12 to 2 o'clock. at the parking lot at Veterans Field on Sampson Street. Again, that's Saturday, March 27th, 12 to 2. Rain date will be the same time, same place on Saturday, April the 3rd. So we will be helping out with that. We will ask the youth group members to show up at around 11:45. We'll discuss that in our next meeting. We hope that youth group members and everyone will come out for that event. Also, we are looking into doing some planting, doing some work at Tricentennial Park at the corner of Platt Avenue and Saddle River Road. That will be done in April, I believe on April the 17th. I think we're going to do it the Saturday before Earth Day, so we will be participating in that. We're also going to possibly have another Zoom meeting for the youth group before the Easter event and sometime in March this month. So that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Thomas.
Hi, good evening, Joe Palzai, Fire Chief, Langley, Fulton Lab. I had emailed Mr. Lodico a letter regarding an issue that's at engine company number 1, and I'd like to read that letter for the council for their consideration. Dear Mayor and esteemed members of the Township Council, I'm including a letter from engine company number 1 Battalion Chief Glenn Walby requesting funds to renovate the women's bathroom at Engine 1 Firehouse. The fire company is willing to undertake the process of this renovation and is looking for some funding to offset the cost of this important update. My hope and the hope of the volunteers of Engine Company number 1 is that the township can provide some funding to help them bring the aging women's bathroom up to date. The firefighters take great pride in their firehouse, and it is also the host site for our Memorial Day services. We all look forward to gathering there after remembering our departed members. Engine Company number 1's ranks have grown currently to include 3 very strong women. Victoria LaPerry is the granddaughter of the late ex-chief Lou LaPerry and daughter of ex-chief Robert LaPerry. Emily Dickman is the daughter of ex-chief Tom Dickman, and our newest woman member, Beth Stewart, who grew up in town, went off to college, and was part of the fire department in New Hampshire, and came back and joined Engine 1. Each of these strong women is to be celebrated during March Women's History Month. They have each answered the call to serve our township. I'm respectfully requesting that the township in turn answers Engine 1's call for some funding to enhance their firehouse. Thank you for your continued support and consideration for this important request. That's that letter, so please.
Thank you.
I emailed that to Mr. Lodico, and he was going to get it to you guys. Also, I wanted to mention that Engine Company number 1 has their St. Patrick's Day dinner to go this year. Last year they had to cancel it due to COVID. This year they're changing up a little bit. So March 13th from it's from 3 to 7 p.m. and you can go there for $20 and get your corned beef on it. So
Where was that again, Chief?
Engine Company number 1.
Okay.
Do you need to call ahead of time, or?
There's tickets for sale.
There's tickets.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you,
I
Chief.
yield my time to the gentleman.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the council? Seeing no one else, motion to close?
Motion to close.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Maluka?
Yes.
Councilman Accomando?
Yes.
Council President Garrett.
Yes. We have 2 ordinances for second reading. Oh, I'm sorry. Comments, Councilman, Mr. Accomando?
Sure. I just want to reiterate what Thomas said about the Easter celebration. It's March 27th from 12 to 2 at Veterans Field parking lot. It's no contact, so for people who are still a little worried, it's non-contact. The eggs will be in bags and handed to the residents in the cars. If it happens to rain the 27th, the 3rd, like Thomas said, is the rain date from 12 to 2. I would like to congratulate Jay Sabani on his another year of assistant chief. And happy St. Patrick's Day. That's it.
Thank you. Council.
First of all, I want to thank Thomas again. He does a lot, and I want to apologize to him because I have not been able to attend the last couple of community partnership meetings. I know that he's involved in that, and I got an email, and I just haven't been able to make it, so for that I apologize. We talked the other day, and as we know, this is the meeting where we take action, but on Tuesday we work out the kinks, so to speak. And some of the things that we did talk about, Suez Water wants to raise their rates, with the mayor. I'm sure, I'm going to go briefly and you can expand on it because you did most of the work, or you did all the work. The mayor wrote a letter to him objecting on behalf of the town to another rate increase. They did one in 2018, I think it was, and in COVID, when people are hurting, for them to ask for an increase, I think it's a bold move, and I think it's the wrong move. The county wants to and will be making a no left turn into the old Golden Mustard Factory on Midland Avenue because it's backing up traffic. So they're gonna have to reroute everything, so this way people can only make a right turn into there. We're talking about tractor trailers, not vehicles. I don't think it's for cars, it's just for tractor trailers, not my understanding of that. So that may help alleviate some traffic concerns on that. We, again, talked about the municipal complex, and it's coming along. I think for the municipal complex, the construction is going to be the easiest part. It's almost like when you paint a house. Taping and cutting the corners and everything like that takes more time than actually putting the paint on. So we're working with, these guys have done a great job. The mayor, Pete, has met with all of the different departments, the fire department, the ambulance corps, our court staff, our township staff, recreation, to get this as good as we can make it. And our intention is to come in under budget, obviously. So not everyone gets exactly what they want, but I think we're doing a very good job in getting people what they want, what they need, and a lot of what they want also. But we're still in that architectural phase, but that's really coming close to finishing. We've got to get some permits for DEP, but I think we're going to start seeing some action, and I'm really, really looking forward to maybe next year we have the Memorial Day service over there for the township. Who knows? That would be awesome. For people that don't know, apparently Marriott is going to close down their hotel. We don't know who's going to buy it, but that's an interesting and unexpected event that's come up. One of the things that we've talked about in the last couple of meetings is the Snow Ordinance. We're revamping the Snow Ordinance. Probably not going to be any more snow now, and by the time we get through the 2 meetings, it would be June or May, when it's definitely, hopefully, if it's snow in May or June, then we're really in trouble. But what we're going to do is, we had an issue when people don't shovel their snow on their sidewalk. You have to shovel it. When people don't, right now, the only people that can enforce that is the police department. In other towns, because I work in other towns, and they enforce the laws, they have their property maintenance person enforcing that. So we're going to amend that ordinance to get the property maintenance officer, give him the authorization to issue summonses, issue warnings, and get that cleaned up. The other thing, maybe a little more controversial, is to make any property owner that has a handicap ramp on their property, that in addition to having to shovel their sidewalk, they also have to shovel the ramp. For an example, if you live on a corner and you shovel your sidewalk and you don't shovel that ramp, somebody, let's say it's your grandmother walking and wants to get across the street, goes right down, gets to the corner, can't cross it because it's basically almost like a maze. They've got to walk up the next block, go down the driveway, go in the street, walk along the street. It defeats the purpose. So we are going to make that a condition as part of the ordinance, similar to the people who have, we feel, the benefit of having a fire hydrant near them, that they have to shovel around the fire department, the fire hydrant. We talked the other day, as everyone knows, marijuana is now legal. And as a municipal prosecutor today, I had the displeasure of having to dismiss, I believe it was about 400 summonses for possession of marijuana, possession of paraphernalia, controlled dangerous substance in a motor vehicle, laundering for the purpose of using CBS. Listen, the voters of New Jersey voted for it. It is the law. However, there are provisions in that law that I feel are not in keeping what I think New Jersey really wants. I know, I don't speak for everyone in Saddlebrook, but I kind of, when you're in this position, you kind of get the feel for what the town wants. There are provisions in there that basically make the police the bad guy. So if there's a bunch of 14-year-olds on the corner smoking and drinking, the police officer is extremely limited in what he can ask those 14-year-olds. And when they catch them, minors are not supposed to be, the law doesn't apply to minors, but even if they're known 15-year-olds, they could be somebody, a police officer's son's friend, or daughter's friend, and they're smoking, and if they ask the wrong questions or they go too far in their, I guess, not really interrogation, just asking questions, investigation, if they go what is determined to be too far and ask too many questions, that police officer could be brought up for a third-degree crime, which carries with it jail time up to 5 years. So somebody investigating, and somebody would get called, the police officer might get called. Hey, there's a bunch of kids smoking and drinking on the corner. What are you going to do? They go there, and now they're risking their entire career by just asking the wrong question. I don't know what they were thinking. I think what they're doing is putting the perceived civil liberties of some of minors ahead of public safety. Because you know, if you own a house and there's somebody and kids are just gathering and smoking pot right basically in front of your house, it's almost nothing that you can do. They're kind of neutering the police by doing this. I think it was a mistake. And the other thing is the police can only give a warning for the first offense, and they can't tell the parents. So you've got a 14-year-old smoking and drinking, and the parents won't know about it because if they tell the parents, they're subject to criminal penalties. To me, it just went way overboard. I think what they did, this was a knee-jerk reaction. I think it's an overreaction to complaints about the unfair impact on certain populations. What they did was it's almost akin to the defund the police movement. They really looted the police department. I don't agree with it. Speaking of not agreeing with things, I have my Dr. Seuss tie on, and apparently Dr. Seuss is bad now. After how many years, I don't know. So happy birthday to Theodore Geisel. I was honored to be asked to read for the kids and do that every year. Most of us do. This year was a little different. We had to make a video and send it in. But you know, sometimes you think about it. You know, I was thinking about it. Was it Cardi B has a song, WAP, and ask your kids what that means. It stands for something. And if you ever really want to be disgusted, just Google the lyrics to that, or watch the video. Google the lyrics. It's pretty obscene, but that gets Song of the Year. But Dr. Seuss is canceled. And then, we won't even go into Mr. Potato Head. Now just Potato Head, no Mr. anymore, no Mr. Mrs. I thought about this. I'm going to get in trouble for something. I'm just trying to think. There's like 380 million people in America. Do you think 3.8 million people are offended by Mr. Potato Head? No. So we're talking about less than 1% of America's population is controlling what everyone else can do, what everyone else can say. Nowadays, you say the wrong thing and you're fired. So, next thing you know, they'll be protesting me and throwing eggs at me and whatever. Huh? Yeah, it's just a crazy world, and it goes up on high. I'm happy that our legislators here for District 38, which is Joe Lagana, who's our senator, and Chris Tully and Lisa Swain, our assembly people, were not the sponsors of that marijuana legislation. I really looked and I said, if they were, I would have been very disappointed. I'm happy that they weren't the sponsors of that legislation. But the nutty people up on top now, they're trying to get 16-year-olds to vote. And if anyone remembers out there what you were like at 16, would you trust yourself at 16 to vote for people that are in charge of taxes, in charge of law enforcement, in charge of your daily life? Luckily, that got voted down, and I thought it was insane that it was even proposed. I mean, that's just insane. We have Damon here. He's one of our citizens, a concerned citizen, lives on Fairlawn Parkway. We are going to talk about, we've tried our best to do things on Fairlawn Parkway to quell the traffic. Doesn't appear to be working as well as we had hoped. So we're going to look into it. We haven't made a decision, but we will be talking about it and considering putting the speed humps on Fairlawn Parkway. We're going to definitely put one on Wilson. We have a couple that are lined up, but that may be what we do. David sent a video of somebody screeching down the street and with 300 feet of skid marks. It just shows that some people just don't know when to stop. They just, you get a nice car, but you're going to hurt somebody, you're going to hurt yourself. That's it. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. I just have a couple of things before we get to the mayor. I just want to congratulate Chief Sabani and his family and thank him for his service to the Saddlebrook Fire Department. The other thing is I'd just like to thank our business administrator, Pete Ladico. He's been working around the clock 7 days a week on the budget. It's that time of the year. I was driving down Market Street on Sunday. Sure enough, his car's outside. I ran in, say hello, but he was working on the budget. So it's that time of the year. We're going to be presenting that soon. So thanks, Pete, for your hard work. I know you're really working hard on it, so thank you. Mayor?
Thank you. Came up with a good idea for engine company number 1, a fundraiser for the ladies' room. People get to throw eggs at Councilman Sumaluka.
It's happened before.
It would be successful.
Like you're fine, do the men's room too, then.
Regarding Suez, Mr. Simaluka did a great job explaining that as a governing body, we're opposed to that rate increase. And that's why I sent the letter. COVID-19 update. The numbers, for some reason, this past week have spiked in Saddlebrook. I don't know why, because for a month before that, they were really pretty much a lot lower than they were this past week. As of Tuesday, March 2nd, our total number since March of last year, 1,124 confirmed positive cases, 23 deaths, and 833 recoveries. And as you can tell, majority of people do recover, and with no lasting effects. Unfortunately, the high school, middle school had 9 students test positive, and they're trying to do contact tracing, but that was too many, 9, and they had to shut down, close down until, I think it's March 17th, it's 14 days, I believe, from Wednesday, so. And also the week before, Smith School had a problem where they only had to close down for a few days. But the school's doing a really terrific job keeping the kids in school, but the state protocol, if there's too many cases, they have to do this. They're obligated by the governor's executive order to do so. Our wrestling has been canceled for the remainder of the season. We did have 2 wrestlers that also came down positive for COVID. Some statewide changes for the better. Restaurants are now allowed 35% of capacity, up from 25%, and the governor has said that he's looking to raise it to 50% by the spring, so in a few weeks. Houses of worship can immediately operate at 50% capacity with no cap on the number of people. Also, fans can now return to pro sporting events and indoor concerts with 10% allowed. Regarding the vaccine, the governor announced that starting March 15th, the following essential workers will be eligible for the vaccine: teachers pre-K to 12 and their support staff, child care workers, transportation workers, and some other additional public safety workers. Beginning March 29th, frontline essential workers in many categories will also be eligible, including food production, agriculture and food distribution, grocery stores, restaurant workers, elder care and support, warehousing and logistics, social services support staff, election personnel, hospitality, medical, supply chain, postal and shipping services, clergy, and judicial system. So the vaccination has been, it's been a slow rollout, but it seems that a lot of the people that were complaining, and I get a lot of complaints that unable to get appointments, it's been difficult, but it does seem to be working a little bit better now. People are getting appointments. The state, just so I got it written down, the state transmission rate now is 0.86, which is very good. So I'm surprised we are a little spike here, but I have a funny feeling there must have been an event or something where that caused this spike somewhere in Saddlebrook here. Regarding the vaccine, I want to thank a very special group of people, one organization and some individuals from town. These people have recognized that, especially their seniors, but not only seniors, other residents were having trouble getting appointments for vaccinations, and it's been very frustrating, as they said. So what they did, these individuals, this one organization and these individuals, they've figured out how to go online, and I mean, some of them, from what I understand, one particular person gets up at like 4:30 in the morning to help other people get these appointments, and they're doing a fantastic job. A lot more people are getting appointments for vaccinations. But the one group is called Vaccine Angels. That's their nickname, but their website is wgirls.org. All capital letters. WGIRLS.org. That's the organization. And then also some local residents: Francis Carmisi, Ima Spaviro, Karen Abiso, Barbara Dodorian, and Chris and Carolyn Slomo. All these people have really stepped up and helped a lot of our residents. So I thank them and applaud them for their effort in doing so. I'm going to read it because it's really well done. The Record has been doing tributes to people that succumbed to COVID-19, and I believe it was yesterday they did one on Carol Ann Ciano, who's a resident of Saddlebrook, and I gotta find it. Hang on a minute. I know it's here somewhere. Okay, here it is. Okay, the governor does this as well, but this is a story about Carol Ann Ciano. I'm going to read it. The backyard of Carol Ann Ciano's Saddlebrook home is a landscape of blooming beauty where lilies, lilacs, daffodils, and pansies spring up in the glorious bouquet of color every year when the weather warms. In the front yard are lush azalea, hydrangeas, and rhododendrons, a riot of colors and scents. It is the domain where Carol spent numerous days planting seeds, weeding, pruning, watering, and nurturing plants that grew in a bright landscape of flowers which attracted admiring glances from neighbors and passers-by. In the winter, Carol enjoyed her African violets that grew in pots around the house. But during the rest of the year, she tended to the horticulture that surrounded the Saddlebrook home where she grew up and raised her children. When the leaves turned green and the buds began to open on the trees and plants, she turned to her ceramic pots and carefully planted the annuals, the begonias, and patience, and live forevers. She was always taking care of her flowers. She loved to go out there and water them every day, said her daughter, Nicole Biver, a chef and mother of 2 teenage girls. When Nicole and her older brother Jimmy were young, they helped their mother with the plants. But when Nicole had her own children, it became their job to help Grandma. It was a task that the 2 girls relished. Carol was an elementary school teacher at St. Philip the Apostle in Saddlebrook and St. Anne's in Fairlawn. She nurtured her students as tenderly as if they were her plants, instructing them on the finer points of algebraic equations, and she was able to simplify into terms that the students could readily understand. And they blossomed under her care into strong, independent students. Years ago, when she was in the hospital, a nurse walked in and exclaimed happily, "Mrs. S." She had been the woman's 4th grade teacher, Nicole recalled. The 2 women remembered each other fondly. She loved her students. She always talked about them, said Nicole. The students in turn gushed about their teacher. They always said she prepared them so well. It came as no surprise to her family that she received recognition in the who's who among American teachers and other awards over the years. She was born and raised in Saddlebrook and was in the first graduating class at Saddlebrook High School. In 1968, Carol Kunzer married Anthony Ciano, who she met because her family owned the service station where Anthony worked, and Carol often brought her car for gas. He became smitten and asked her on a date and then another. The couple raised their children in Saddlebrook and spent their lives there. Anthony died in 2011, and 3 years later, Nicole and her husband and 2 children moved back into the house with Carol. She always said, enjoy the smaller things in life. Be happy, recalled her son Jimmy, a UPS employee. It was a motto his mother lived up to. Besides gardening and teaching, she loved cooking, baking, antiquing, and spending time with her granddaughters. She died on Easter Sunday in 2020 at age 76. That day began dreary, overcast, but grew warm and bright. It might have been a perfect day for planting, but it was very nice, very long, but very nice, and I wanted to read it. Okay, talk about the budget a little bit. As Councilman Garrick said, Business Administrator Pete Ladico is always working hard on the budget. Him and CFO Tim Conti and I, we prepared a draft budget which we submitted to the council for their review. We will have the budget ready for introduction at the April council meeting. We're trying to keep it as lean as possible. I wanted to mention the blue senior tax freeze books were mailed out. If you did not receive one, you can call 800-882-6597. That's 800-882-6597. The books are due back November 1st, 2021, and people are eligible, all couples 65 and older, or disabled individuals with an income less than $92,969. Their first quarter tax bill are coming out. I got mine today. The municipal complex, Councilman Samaluka spoke about that. We're having weekly meetings with all the representatives from the town and the builder. We met with all town departments to finalize the architectural plans. We're in the process of obtaining all town, county, and state permits. The weather caused some delays in starting demolition. Grant funds received for fiscal year 2020, the Federal Assistance to Firefighters grant, we were approved for $1,827.67, and it's for the purchase of or reimbursement of PPE and related supplies, and to prevent, prepare, and respond to coronavirus. I want to thank Fire Chief Palizzati. He worked with our grant writer to get that. Thank you, Joe. Ordinances, we have the design of stormwater control, which is the second reading. We have a no parking, eliminating the parking spot at 270 Market Street on the Finnegan Ave side, directly south of the existing Finnegan Ave apron curb on the west side of the street. No parking area will extend the distance to 25 feet in the southerly direction from the end of the apron. That's on for second reading. We got for first reading the bond ordinance authorizing the 2021 road improvement program. That's on for tonight for first reading. And as Mr. Samaluka said, we are looking into revamping our snow ordinance, and we're also looking into creating an ordinance to eliminate parking of commercial vehicles on the roadway. Draft was done on that, but it came too late for us to review. So that, hopefully we'll look into that. We'll talk more about that next month. On the marijuana legislation, as Mr. Samaluka said, it's very controversial. I know that the New Jersey State Association of Chiefs of Police and also the Bergen County League of Municipalities, the mayor's group, are opposed to the legislation. The legislation basically prohibits officers from engaging in certain actions when investigating individuals under the age of 21 for possession of cannabis and alcohol. In some cases, it actually criminalizes the conduct of the officers that was formerly lawful and accepted police practices. Some municipalities, and we're going to talk about this hopefully next month, are passing resolutions urging the legislature to amend the bill that was signed into law. So I think both Mr. Samaluka and myself, I think everybody here pretty much agrees that that bill needs to be amended. The council and all with this new bill, we also have to address the implications to our zoning ordinance. So we're going to have to look into that end as far as, we talked about this. We want to limit the retail sales of cannabis in town. So we're going to work on that. I too participated in Read Across America. I videotaped myself reading a children's book, and that was a lot of fun. I also spoke to, very happy to announce, I spoke to VFW Commander Lou Verrilli, and Post 3484 is planning on having a Memorial Day parade this year. It may be scaled down a little bit, but they do want to go forward. They had a meeting this week, and they discussed it, and they do want to go forward with it. Councilman Accomando mentioned Easter, and also Thomas. The Easter celebration, it's an outdoor event, March 27th, 12 to 2, Veterans Field. Rain date of April the 3rd. Happy St. Patrick's Day and happy St. Joseph's Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. The ordinance.
First ordinance for final reading, ordinance 1695-21. An ordinance in accordance with provisions of NJAC 7:8, the Township of Southbrook is adopting new requirements for the design of stormwater control. This is required by the state of New Jersey for each municipality.
Motion for a public hearing?
Second reading.
Motion for a second, the second reading of this ordinance.
Yes.
Motion. Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Accomando?
Yes.
Councilman Samaluka?
Yes.
Council President Garrett.
Yes. Motion to open the meeting to the public for this ordinance only.
Motion.
Roll call.
Councilman Arcomando,
Yes.
Councilman Saluka,
Yes.
Council President Garrett.
Yes. Does anyone wish to speak in regards to this ordinance?
Motion closed?
Seeing no one, motion to close this public portion. Motion.
Second?
Roll call.
Councilman Saluka,
Yes.
Councilman Arcomando,
Yes.
Council President Garrett.
Yes.
Be resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Southbrook that the ordinance entitled, an ordinance in accordance with provisions of NJAC 7:8, Township of Southbrook is adopting new requirements for the design of stormwater control, is now passed on second and final reading, and that the Township Clerk be directed to advertise said ordinance or title thereof in the press, together with the notice of the date of passage of said ordinance according to law.
Motion to approve this ordinance.
Motion?
Second?
Roll call.
Councilman Saluka,
Yes.
Councilman Arcomando,
Yes.
Council President Garrett.
Yes.
Next ordinance for final reading.
Motion for a second reading of this ordinance.
I'll let you.
Sorry, Pete, you want to read?
Well,
An ordinance amending Chapter 196, Section 34 of the Township Code of the Township of Southbrook entitled Vehicles and Traffic, Schedule 1, No Parking.
Motion to pass on second reading?
motion.
Not a motion to pass, motion to read, for the reading.
Motion.
Second?
Roll call.
Councilman Saluka?
Yes.
Councilman Arcomando?
Yes.
Council President Garrett.
Yes.
An ordinance amending Chapter 196, Section 34 of the Township Code of the Township of Southbrook entitled Vehicles and Traffic, Schedule 1, No Parking.
Motion to open the meeting to the public on this ordinance only.
Vote?
Second?
Roll call.
Councilman Saluka?
Yes.
Councilman Arcomando?
Yes.
Council President Garrett.
Yes. Does anyone wish to address the council on this ordinance? Seeing no one, motion to close on this
Motion?
ordinance.
Second?
Roll call.
Councilman Saluka?
Yes.
Councilman Arcomando?
Yes.
Council President Garrett.
Yes.
Be resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Southbrook that the ordinance entitled, an ordinance amending Chapter 196, Section 34 of the Township Code of the Township of Southbrook entitled Vehicles and Traffic, Schedule 1, No Parking, is now passed on second and final reading, and that the Township Clerk be directed to advertise said ordinance or title thereof in the press, together with the notice of the date of passage of said ordinance according to law.
Motion to approve this ordinance.
Motion.
Second?
Roll call.
Councilman Saluka?
Yes.
Councilman Arcomando?
Yes.
Council President Garrett.
Yes.
Next ordinance for first reading, ordinance 1697-21. It's a bond ordinance to authorize the 2021 road improvement program in by and for the Township of Southbrook in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $1,700,000 to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds.
Motion to approve, motion for a first reading.
Motion?
Second?
Roll call.
Councilman Saluka?
Yes.
Councilman Arcomando?
Yes.
Council President Garrett.
Yes.
Be resolved that the bond ordinance to authorize the 2021 road improvement program in by and for the Township of Southbrook in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $1,700,000 to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds, heretofore passed on first reading, be further considered for final passage at a meeting to be held on the first day of April 2021 at 7:00 p.m. or sooner after as the matter can be reached at the Southbrook Senior Center, 8 Caldwell Avenue, and that at such time and place all persons interested be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance according to law, with the notice of its introduction and passage on first reading, and of a time and place when and where said ordinance will be further considered for final passage.
Motion to approve on first reading.
Motion.
Second?
Roll call.
Councilman Samaluka.
Yes.
Councilman Comando.
Yes.
Council President Garrett.
Yes.
Next is ordinance 1698-21, a bond ordinance to authorize the improvement of Maple Street Phase 2 in, by, and for the Township of Saddlebrook in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $480,000 to pay the cost thereof, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds for first reading.
Motion to, a first reading?
Motion.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Samaluka.
Yes.
Councilman Comando.
Yes.
Council President Garrett.
Yes.
Be resolved that the bond ordinance to authorize the improvement of Mayhill Street Phase 2 in, by, and for the Township of Saddlebrook in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $480,000 to pay the cost thereof, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds, heretofore passed on first reading, be further considered for final passage at a meeting to be held on the first day of April 2021 at 7:00 p.m. or sooner after, as the matter can be reached at the Saddlebrook Senior Center, 8 Caldwell Avenue. And at such time and place, all persons interested be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance according to law, with the notice of its introduction and passage on first reading, and of the time and place when and where said ordinance will be further considered for final passage.
Motion to approve on first reading?
Motion.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Samaluka.
Yes.
Councilman Comando.
Yes.
Council President Garrett.
Yes.
Mr. President, that completes the ordinances.
Thank you.
Consent agenda, all items listed with an asterisk are considered routine and non-controversial by the Township Council and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a council member or member so requests it, in which case the item or items will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. The one motion signifies adoption of all resolutions, receive and file letters, correspondence, reports, and approval of minutes and applications.
Mr. Ladico, please pull resolution 914 and correspondence 8. Have them, you could read them, please.
Oh, sure, we'll do it after the consent agenda.
Okay. Okay, motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Samaluka.
Yes.
Councilman Comando.
Yes.
And Council President Garrett.
Yes.
Resolution number 9, introduced by Mayor White, Councilman Samaluka, Accomando, and Garrett. Whereas women of every race, class, and ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our nation, state, and township in countless recorded and unrecorded ways. And whereas in 2020, the theme of Women's History Month was women's suffrage and the passing of the 19th Amendment, granting women the right to vote. Whereas a victory as important as women winning the right to vote deserves an extended celebration, leading to this year's theme, continuing the celebration from 2020. Now therefore be resolved by the Mayor and the Township Council of the Township of Saddlebrook that hereby joins the National Celebration of Women's History Month with the theme of this year, Valiant Women of the Vote, Refusing to be Silenced. And be it further resolved that the Township Council hereby recognizes and congratulates all the honorees for this distinguished service to our community, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. Motion received.
Motion.
Roll call.
Councilman Samaluka.
Yes.
Councilman Accomando.
Yes.
Council President Garrett.
Yes.
Resolution 14, presented by the Township Council. Whereas Suez Water New Jersey has filed an application for another rate increase of an average of 12% with the Board of Public Utilities, and whereas the Township of Saddlebrook purchases its water from its residents and businesses from Suez Water and would be required to pass on an increase to its Saddlebrook customers. Whereas the projected increase of this rate hike is granted comes on top of prior rate increases, including ones granted in 2016 and 2018. And whereas a pattern has developed whereby Suez Water petitions the Board of Public Utilities for rate increases every few years, and eventually Suez Water receives the rate increases they originally request. And whereas this proposed increase will create a hardship on the residents and businesses of Saddlebrook, especially while we are still in the midst of the COVID-19 epidemic. Now therefore be resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Saddlebrook that hereby goes on record opposing Suez Water New Jersey's request for a 12% increase in its rates, and strongly recommends that the Board of Public Utilities take into account the past increases granted to Suez Water and deny this increase in rates. Be it further resolved that the Township Clerk is hereby directed to send certified copies of this resolution to Governor Murphy, State Board of Public Utilities, Senator Lagana, and Assemblyperson Swain and Tully.
Good motion.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Samuka?
Yes.
Councilman Alcomondo?
Yes.
Council President Garrett?
Yes.
And correspondence. It's a letter from Mayor White addressed to the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities, and it's addressed to the President and Commissioners. On February 11, 2021, the Township of Saddlebrook received a notice of public hearing concerning the rate increase requested by Suez Water New Jersey. As Mayor of the Township of Saddlebrook, I must state with my strong opposition to the 12% increase that our residents and businesses would pay if Suez's petition is approved. Suez has received rate increases in the past few years, but this year with the pandemic still strong, it will strongly impact Suez customers in a negative way. Residents and businesses alike are still struggling to make ends meet, and the increase could end up permanently closing businesses. I respectfully request that the Board of Commissioners carefully review this request and take into consideration the Saddlebrook water customers who will ultimately bear this increase. Signed, Mayor Robert D. White.
Motion.
Motion.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Samuka?
Yes.
Councilman Alcomondo?
Yes.
Council President Garrett?
Yes.
And that completes the agenda items, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Lozito, the minutes?
Sorry, not part of consent agenda, the minutes of the February meeting to be voted on separately, February 4th, 2021.
Motion.
Second. Motion.
Roll call.
Councilman Samuka?
Abstain.
Councilman Alcomondo?
Yes.
Council President Garrett?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Samuka.
Do we have any old business?
Just one thing that I forgot when we were talking about the speed. I talked to Mr. Klein. We did put the speed monitors on Claremont, Jamrose, and what was the third one? Shepis? Right, Bob? Shepis? They're not, the data is being compiled. I think it might be ready, just like we did on Fairlawn Parkway. We should have that report by the next meeting, and then we will release that to the public at the next meeting to let us know what's going on over there. We've got the numbers on Fairlawn Parkway. We'll see the numbers from the other, some of the streets that have garnered a bunch of complaints. And that's all I have. Anyone else?
New business, any new business at all? No. Okay, I'd like a motion to open the meeting to the public for agenda items only.
Motion.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Samuka?
Yes.
Councilman Alcomondo?
Yes.
Council President Garrett?
Yes. Does anyone wish to address the council on agenda items only? Seeing no one, motion to close the meeting to the public.
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do we have any final comments? Final comments? May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.